So welcome back, everybody. This is Night Flight, and today we are going to talk to Tony Sayers again. His website is transcendingtimes.org.
Yes.
And yeah, we both know that this is a very controversial subject, and most articles, most people are over the moon with Kundalini and Reiki. And yeah, here and there you find some critical stuff. So we will dive into the critical stuff today. So Tony, welcome back. How are you?
Yes, I'm good. I'm struggling through every day this crazy place, and yeah, I'm really just trying to see the fun in it all at the moment. Some of the things that happen in my daily life with these people, just you just got to laugh at them, and I'm finding that's a real medicine to be able to cope. It really is clown world. I mean, I don't. It's no exaggeration when I call it clown world. It really is a circus out there, and I think you've got to poke some fun at it. Otherwise, you'll just go insane, and you got to find the humor in it. I'm hoping this is my last time round, so might as well make the most of it. Hey, so and they hate that, these entities and the people that control it. They don't want us like laughing and being happy and finding humor in things. So I'm trying my best to just smile through it all and yeah, do what I can really. You couldn't make it up, could you?
Yeah, that's so true. So, Tony, Reiki. Yeah, a lot of people are fully over the moon with Reiki. And yeah, when you type it in, most of it is really, really positive.
Of course.
And yeah, here and there are a few drops of, yeah, wait a minute. For me, it was not so wonderful.
Yeah.
So what is Reiki?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's obviously very heavily entwined into the lovely new age movement, the rainbows and unicorn farts that everyone has got caught up into and get stuck there, which is what I refer to as the second layer of the matrix, where people are having or waking up to certain truths, and then they're being funneled into the new age movement, which really keeps people passive and keeps people from speaking up and just think high vibes and everything's going to be all right and you're going to be in the new earth just over that rainbow bridge over there. Just keep those vibrations high. Don't look at anything negative, God forbid. So it ties in heavily with that whole new age agenda. And I would just start with the name. I mean, the etymology of the word Reiki. I mean, when you're raking something, you're kind of like taking something, aren't you? So for me, the name straight off the bat is it's suspicious, and I have to say, I was I was into Reiki years ago when I wasn't really heavily into the New Age, but I did go through the process of my Reiki 1, Reiki 2, and Reiki 3. So at one point, I was a Reiki master, right? And I hate that term as well because it really ties into like spiritual ego, like I'm a Reiki master. Like it doesn't sit right with me. And even at the time that I remember thinking, I don't know if I like that title of master. It seems like kind of like slave and that kind of thing. So yeah, I have been through the process. So but ultimately down the years working in energy and clearing stuff and sort of understanding how false light beings work and how they use this kind of like false light frequency, I would describe it, which very much is like a spiritual high, which makes people addicted to it, and it can make you feel good in the moment, maybe for that hour or for that day, but ultimately there is like the inevitable crash, and whether that comes a day later or 2 days later or a week later. there's that feeling of, oh, maybe I need to do it again or something like that. And you can feel like quite off. And I've had a lot of clients down the years that have told me that they got into Reiki, and then after a while they were really not feeling good. Something felt off, and then some of them started like hearing voices and stuff like this. So um, again, on the surface, when you look at it, it all seems innocent, sweet, you know, healing each other. We do have that potential. We all have that potential, but the problem is that we're hooking into what I describe as a false white light energy grid. So this isn't organic. This is set up, and when you set your intention to hook into that grid, you are then accessing that false light, that false high energy. So what I say to people is, you can do, I mean, I wouldn't even call it Reiki. You can lay hands and you can heal people, but you just literally set your intention to use your own energy and let it flow. You don't need any false light grid. And I know through the symbols, these entities, they feed on the Reiki energy as well. So it is triggering for people. I get that, like all this new age exposure is, but it really is something that people might want to reconsider. And I've heard it so many times down the years where people have said to me, like, they booked their Reiki course, but something just felt off. They didn't go through with it, or they did the level 1 and something felt off and they didn't go through with it. And I would say that that's their intuition that is, tapping into, actually this isn't what we're told. So I describe it very much like a drug, like ecstasy, where you have that incredible high, and then of course there's that crash. And this is why you have to keep doing it over and over again, like balancing the chakras and all this other stuff that you need to do. And ultimately, a lot of these people that are into not just Reiki, but all these other new age modalities, they spend hundreds and thousands of dollars, and 2, 3, 4 years down the line, they're not feeling any better. In fact, they're feeling a lot worse many times. So we have to ask ourselves, where is all this getting us? And I think we're at a stage now where everything needs to be put on the table to be questioned. Even things, and maybe I've said this in our podcast previously, but even things that we call traditions. We've had things like Reiki and yoga and meditation and all this stuff for God knows how many thousands of years. And people say to me, yeah, but Tony, it's old. Tibetan monks used to do it. Well, okay, where is all this stuff getting us? Because right now we literally have no rights and freedoms left. And we've been doing all this stuff, and all these new ages are doing it, and they're not getting anywhere. So how is it actually benefiting us? And so, yeah, Reiki, yeah, just to underline my point, is tapping into the false light energy grid, which I think they are using this false light energy grid at the point of death, where people are being love bombed. If you look into near-death experiences, where people come back, or trick back or whatever, they often describe this incredible feeling of like love energy. And I think that it's that same frequency that is being used with Reiki, that incredible false high, which is really cruel when you think about it, that they use to try and hoodwink and crowbar people back down. And it's very difficult to turn away from that. You hear it in these NDEs. They feel that incredible, overwhelming love energy. And then obviously, Jesus or Buddha or whatever their flavor of savior turns up at the pearly gates. And we know what the rest of it goes like. Oh, Judith, you were a good person, but you hurt Dave back in, 2005. And, look what you did, and they make you feel their pain. You hear this all the time. They make the experience go through the pain of the person that they caused the issues with. But they say they're not judging. they're not judging, but they're going to make you feel all the pain of what Dave felt.
Mm,
um, so this false light energy grid, we need to be very aware of, because it's very alluring. Not only in this lifetime with all these new age modalities, I would say Reiki is not the only thing that taps into this. There's probably other modalities as well, but also at the point of death, you know, this incredible luring feeling, this energy that is encapsulating people to come back down. So it is a kind of a morbid topic and a triggering topic for so many people. But I mean, it goes back to, do we want to feel good in the moment, which is what the new age is about, just feeling good? Or do we actually want to get out of here and actually understand the levels of manipulations and deceptions that are being used to trick us?
mm.
Um, so I get that it's upsetting for people to hear this information, but it is what it is.
Yeah. So it is said that you are tapping with Reiki into universal energy. Has
Mm.
that been your experience?
Um, well, I would say my personal experience when I did it was when I look back, there was red flags. I mean, you know, my Reiki teacher, she was lovely, and I wonder sometimes if she still follows me, and probably not, when she knows what I talk about. But she was like, her and the people that were attending these training sessions were always talking about channeling angels as well, and the guides come through on Reiki sessions, and all these entities. And you know, looking back now, I can see that they're totally, yeah, totally brainwashed by it all. And yeah, my experience was, I did feel the initial highs of it all, like everyone does. I would say that certain things felt off, but I always remember that, you know, a day, 2 days afterwards, I'd feel really tired and I wouldn't feel great. Like, it wasn't like this Reiki session that I had liberated me energetically. So yeah, but I've heard a lot worse stories from other people that have, you know, been practicing it for a long time. So yeah, I'm not saying don't lay hands. You know, it's probably, it would work a whole lot better if people just used their own intention, laid hands, and allowed their energy to flow. That's going to be way more effective than tapping into a false light energy grid. So I'm not telling people, you know, you can do your own version of, if you want to call it Reiki, but just use your own energy. So I'm not even saying, look, you can't heal people. Of course you can. We all have that ability. Just don't tap into that energy grid, is what I'm saying. The only energy grids you really want to use are your own and nature's energy. Anything else I would avoid. So
Yeah. Yeah, that reminds me a little bit of what there is, his name escapes me. There's a physicist here in Germany, and he has written a couple of books, and those are about quantum healing, but from a scientific point of view. And then he has a smaller book with, yeah, basically a couple of exercises, how to tap into subspace, and how you can go into that energy, and yeah, and then you concentrate on what is, yeah, annoying you, where you feel pain and whatever. And but you know, there is no master involved, no initiation, there are no symbols.
yeah,
And so if people are interested in those things, I would say to look into quantum healing is really a good idea.
yeah,
What I found interesting, um, I read an interview with a Reiki practitioner, and he reported that he sometimes has clients who come to him after their initiation, and something went horribly wrong.
Mm.
And so he said that sometimes he has to do a lot of clearing work on those people, simply because um, some of them, yes, they have been initiated into Reiki, but also into something else that
Yes.
does not belong there. And some of them have actually never been initiated into Reiki, but into a complete different energy. And that is then what causes the problem. So, and he calls it entity infestation.
Absolutely.
So, so it is possible. Even he, as he, and he is still practicing, yeah, but even he is aware of those possibilities.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at to get to the different levels, you actually need to go through a ritual, a literal ritual. I don't know if you've been through the process yourself, but
No,
there's like three rituals, and I can't remember exactly, but the Reiki master comes around and she taps your shoulders and says all these words, and it's a literal ritual, and I've heard it time and time again where people have had these different rituals to get their different levels for Reiki, and that it's almost like they've felt something else come in, and yeah, it's it's just another manipulation really, where they've made it all so fluffy and light and love, and there's actual, I think there's actual angel Reiki and crystal Reiki and all these different versions of it as well. um and yeah, really, you're just opening yourself up to these entities. Your friend there is spot on, although he's kind of running uphill if he's clearing and doing Reiki still. But yeah, you're literally opening yourself up. You're opening your energy up to whatever those rituals are really programmed to open you up to. And as we know from a lot of the New Age, it's probably not too good when you go deep into it. But you see it as well. One thing I would encourage people to look out for, and I do this a lot in my New Age reviews, is that when someone is tapping into that false light energy grid regularly, um, it is something that you can almost see in their eyes. And I describe it as the lights are on, but no one's home. There's like a glazed, it's like glazed over. It's very subtle in some people, but again, if you look at some of these new ages, it's almost like they're there, but they're not there, and they're very kind of absent. Is the best ways to describe it. I remember once when I was in the UK and I went to Brighton, which is like the new age capital of the UK. God knows why I was there. Can't remember now, but I think I went to some kind of conference and there was like spiritual people there, and I got talking to this guy, and he was big into Reiki. And I remember as he was talking, I was like looking at his eyes and I was like, he's talking, but it looks like there's no one behind him, that like there's no one there. It was really weird. And this is before I know what I know now about it all. But I remember thinking that something's not right, something's off. But you'll see them a lot. They'll talk like this, everything's love and light, and you just keep your vibrations high. It's just vacant. Um, and Now I can spot false white light, and I can feel false white light energy immediately. I went to review another prominent New Age, Amanda Ellis. She's got a huge following, and I put her video on, and within seconds I felt off. I could feel that, and then as I was playing the video, it turns out that she was embedding this frequency, and actually could be Kundalini as well. I can't remember what it was, but it was definitely false light. And I felt it within seconds. I was like, whoa, I don't like that. And so I had to clear myself. And so this is a real big problem because people are sometimes watching things on YouTube or online. And if that person is working with false light energy or entities and stuff like that, you know, that stuff can be transferable. So we need to be really careful with the information that we're consuming, particularly when it comes to like frequency videos and things like that. And this goes even further, where I remember 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, I experimented with binaural beats, and I was like, oh, I'll just try them. And I kid you not, for about 2 months after that, there was something wrong with my brain. I don't know what it was, but I felt like my brain was really slow, and eventually I found it was like an implant, an etheric implant. But I linked it back to the time when I was doing these binaural beats. It took me ages because when you're clearing this stuff, there's this kind of like law that if you can find where it comes from, it's easier to clear it. It's like a law of identification. And I was checking. I was like, I couldn't find it. I couldn't find it. I was like, what have I done differently the last couple of months? I wonder if it was from the binaural beats, because that's where it started. And so when I checked in around the binaural beats, that's where this implant had come in. And other people have then since told me that they've also felt off when listening to certain things like binaural beats and everything like that. So I'm not saying that everything's bad. I'm just saying that we really need to be careful about what we're consuming and what we're opening ourselves up to.
Mm. Yeah, at the end of that interview that I just described, I had the impression a lot of it depends on who is initiating you. And it might even be that the person itself doesn't know that
Mm,
he or she is not initiating into Reiki, or that there is a different energy attached to it, that they are well-meaning people,
yes.
but do not have the discernment to see, yeah, okay, but here something else is running here as well. So, and I find there are so many Reiki teachers out there, and then again, you can do it via the internet, yeah.
Hmm.
And honestly, people have no clue who those people are. Yes, there might be some people that even do it intentionally,
Mm,
to
yeah.
give you an entity
Yeah.
with
Oh, for
it.
sure. I think there's both sides of the coin there. There's people that are infiltrated, and maybe they're controlled opposition. I think a lot of these big new agers are. I think there's a circle of these core new agers that have huge followings that are definitely infiltrated, and they know what they're doing. But then there's also the people that, which I would suggest my Reiki teacher, she was a lovely woman, and I know that she thought she was helping people, and she had good intentions. So there's both sides of the coin here. But ultimately, if someone's infiltrated with an entity, it's really not important whether they know it or not. So they they just are, and that's why we need to be discerning.
Yeah, you are correct. I was just distinguishing it. So, so that people do not go off in the comment section that we are
Yes.
demonizing everybody. Yeah?
Yeah, yeah.
There is a difference. It might be that people do not even know that they themselves have not been initiated in the
Yeah,
right
I
way.
mean, most people, they go to the new age, and because it's all innocent and sweet, then they're never ever gonna think for one moment that this stuff is dark or demonic or whatever it is, because it's just not packaged that way. And we know that the stuff that they package in the new age is incredible. The way they've marketed it all, it's just they've marketed some of the most evil things as all this love and light, and so it flies under the radar. This is why it's so dangerous, the new age. So much of it flies under the radar because you're thinking, well, how can rainbow colors be evil? How can angels be evil? How can chakras be evil? How can all this stuff be evil when it all looks so good and feels so good? And this is the problem that I've had down the years, trying to wake people up from this crap, because it just, people are so emotional about it all because it makes them feel good. All this woo woo, You know, when especially if some people have had a lot of trauma in their life,
Yeah.
they don't want to hear someone like me say Reiki's like bad or angels are bad. But those people are they're going to feel good in the moment, but they're not going to feel good when this stuff gets used against them, probably at death as well. So it does
Yeah,
take time to.
but you know, on the other hand, we all had experiences in our daily life. Let's say you have a lovely meal, happened to me, and 2 hours later, I had a food poisoning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, or you are having sex, feels great as well. You might end up with a venereal disease. Yeah. So, yeah, so that argument, because it looks good, it feels good, there cannot be anything wrong with it, that doesn't fly anyhow.
No, no, but you know, people don't want to go that deep, do they? We were just talking off air off the interview about, you know, people just they they just want to feel good. They just that's literally all they want to do.
Hmm.
And so when you come along and burst their bubble, you know, you get all the pushback. So, but it is what it is. Some people will take it on board and investigate it further, and others won't. So it
Hmm.
depends on how interested in truth you are.
Hmm. Because you just mentioned this tapping on the shoulder. I also, that was also a German website. And the woman who reported it allegedly is clairvoyant. I don't know. I cannot judge that. I don't know her. But she reported that when she looked at people after the initiation, that she sometimes could see um, some of the symbols above their shoulder,
Mm,
not on their physical body, in their
yeah,
energy body, yeah. And that in that symbol was an entity sitting and sucking energy out of that particular individual with something that resembled a straw.
yeah. That's what I'm saying. They feed through the symbols. Yeah,
Mm.
it's like a contract, a contractual thing. You allow yourself, you open up to this ritual. I wish I could remember more about it. I mean, I had three of them back in the day. I've obviously cleared them all now, but it was all very, yeah, very weird. And I have no doubt that that's what's happening. They're feeding through the symbols. And again, I make the point in that you can heal people. You just lay your hands, set your intention, and you're away. You don't need all the fluff around it. And
Yeah.
you don't need initiations.
Yeah, and that is something where I have to say people should really think about, in general, not just Reiki. Think about it twice, what you are getting initiated into and by whom.
Mm,
Because in all honesty, you never know with what you're going to end up.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's a really important topic. Really, I mean, it's really good to unpack it like we have because there are so many people that are having detrimental effects from all of this stuff.
Mm.
Maybe not straight away because they have to give you a bit of sugar. I mean, I've got so many stories. Like I think I've said before, there was a woman going back to sort of false light entities, and she was channeling Archangel Michael, and Archangel Michael helped her find her missing cat. So she had all this belief in him, but then on the flip side, he was getting her to run this massive. She was very prominent in the New Age, so she was like a figurehead, and he was running this scheme to get her hooked into all this like false light grid in some new healing modality. And then ever since she followed him after that, everything went wrong in her life. You know, all the advice she was getting from him. she ended up losing everything, and she ended up hooking a load of other people into this, false light modality. So they give with one hand and they take with the other. This is what people don't understand. They have to give you a bit of sugar to keep you invested, because if they just did what they did, no one would do it. So um, they sprinkle these turds with glitter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what would you tell somebody that says, yeah, but I feel great every time I get a Reiki session and I have no problems at all? Because that is usually the argument that comes.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I hear that one a lot, and I mean, the fact is that a lot of people, if they feel so great, why do they keep needing to have all these Reiki sessions, and why do they need to keep balancing their chakra, and then their root chakras out, and then it's their heart chakra, and so, on the surface they might feel great, but when you go deeper, how really further forward are they? So, and I would argue that, yeah, maybe they're just feeling that spiritual high, and whether the crash comes today, tomorrow, next week, next month, inevitably there will be a crash.
Yeah. Yeah. And as I said, not everything is good just because it feels good.
What's that saying? Not everything that's gold is that glitters. Not everything that
Yeah.
glitters is gold. I love
Yeah.
that. I mean,
Yeah.
if I could sum up the New Age movement in one sentence, it would be that not everything that glitters is gold, and they glitter everything that's not gold to make it look like gold.
So our next topic, Kundalini.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there again, very controversial, but you find a little bit more of, personal experiences. Of course, it's hard to tell on the internet if that is real or if people are making up the story. But yeah, it's a snake energy.
It's an entity. You're allowing you're open. It's very simple. You're opening yourself up to serpent entities, or a serpent entity, a particular serpent entity. Serpent entities are one of the most common entity races out there, and there's different variations of it. You've got the four-headed snake, you've got winged serpents, and Kundalini is again, it's like some kind of ritual where you're opening up your energy, and then people literally, when you actually listen and read what people's experiences, it literally is a possession. That's what they're describing. And because the entity then kind of has not maybe fully control over someone's consciousness, but is directing it very strongly. When you question it, that it will immediately defend the experience. And this could be what we were talking about earlier with the Reiki, the people that say they have great stuff, because they've opened themselves up to these entities. These entities are always putting voices in the head, and so the entity will also get triggered, and so it's going to jump to the defense of the modality. So this would apply to Reiki, and it definitely applies to Kundalini. And one thing it really applies to is the whole plant medicine crew with ayahuasca. I mean, that's another cult. I mean, that's another show we could do. These people will not hear that there's anything bad with what they've done or what they're doing. And when you don't even have to look too far under the surface to see that it is really bad, a lot of what they're doing. um and Yeah, so you'll find that people that have these Kundalini experiences, they'll just, a lot of them are bad. They'll say they're really traumatic, like physically, like their body gets taken over, they get sick. I mean, this is, entities can make you sick, like really, that's a thing. um and if you have underlying issues, that they can amplify that as well. So um so when you hear these experiences, it doesn't sound good. It doesn't sound like a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the people that do say that it was a good thing, I would say that they're probably possessed by this snake energy, and they're saying that because they're trying to defend the whole modality. Um, but yeah, I mean that also extends into Kundalini yoga, which again is really going to trigger people when you talk about their beloved yoga. You know, the cobra pose. A lot of these poses that it's the archetypes of the poses that open people up to certain entities. Hindu gods are entities, and you know the background in yoga is Hinduism, and to yoga means to be yoked with, to merge with what is what I would say. And yeah, again, people won't like it. They don't want to hear that. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with stretching, because that's the people's immediate comeback is the health benefits. Yeah, there is incredible health benefits from stretching. You can stretch without making those entity poses. And Kundalini yoga is a very prominent part of the yoga modality, very popular. What I have noticed with people that practice Kundalini yoga is they have a very, very strong sexual energy. Serpent entities are very sexual, and I've noticed that a lot with people within Kundalini yoga circles. Same with Tantra and all that stuff. It's creepy as hell. I find it creepy as hell. And yeah, the Kundalini awakening, Kundalini yoga, anything serpent energy. I mean, there's so much, Judith. You know, all these people in the new age that work with dragons, dragon entities. Dragons are an entity race, but people don't want to give it up. They want to keep going with it. So yeah.
I when you said that people are saying they love their Kundalini awakening, I have watched some. You probably are aware of Sadhguru.
Yes.
Yeah,
He was at the WEF the other day.
he was what?
He was at the World Economic Forum. I saw an
Ah,
interview
okay,
with him.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
He's really for truth.
yeah. And yeah, but I found it quite interesting what he had to say in terms of Reiki and Kundalini. Yeah, okay, he's not totally against it, but he is also not, yay. Yeah. And I also watched another video where two gentlemen in India were talking about this. And the guy who got interviewed, he has a PhD. I guess he was, yeah, I don't know, uh, expert in energy, but I don't know. But definitely both said that you have to be ready for the fact that your life, your regular life that you had up to that point, is being totally tossed.
Mm.
And that it might be difficult for you just to function among other people. Did that ever, do you had that experience with people that did Kundalini yoga? I mean, if you do Kundalini yoga, that doesn't mean that your Kundalini has risen. Yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
that might take a while.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've heard stories where it's completely changed people's personalities, like
Okay.
completely into different people. Or I get emails where they've done this ritual, and they've just, yeah, they literally tell me that they feel possessed. Some of them wake up to it and realize what they've done is really bad. Um, it depends how strong that person's, I don't know, willpower is, but other people really allow that entity to take over and are dominated by it, and then they parrot the rhetoric. They become sort of marketeers for these things. So they become marketeers for Kundalini yoga. They become marketeers for Reiki. The plant medicine people then become marketeers for the ayahuasca and all of that stuff. I mean, there's people here where I live right now. I mentioned it on my recent live. Um, there's quite a few plant medicine people that have moved in to this area, and I've seen some of them around, and they walking around, and I can see that they're looking possessed. And these people are taking ayahuasca or cambo nearly every day. You try telling them that it's not good, or hang on, your friend there looks like she might have an attachment. Their solution is to drink more ayahuasca or take more cambo. So they're literally possessed by the, I would say, the plant itself. You know, that when you look at ayahuasca, it's very grabby, very takey, and you know it actually kind of like strangles trees and stuff like that. And it's almost like that same energy is coming through people as well, and they become marketeers. They become well, these things are all cults in the end. That's what they are. Anything like that with a very strong, rigid, defensive and belief system then becomes a cult. And others, as they go through these processes and rituals, the cults get bigger and bigger.
Mm.
So when someone like you or I come along and say, "Hang on a minute, what you're doing might not be too good," it's like you get jumped on. So, but it's all yeah, it's all entity interference.
Yeah. Do you know Richard Grannon, his channel?
Is he the talks about the narcissist?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So, and he has a video where he talked about his ayahuasca experience. And he was very straightforward, and he said, I have to tell you that if you want to do such a thing, you really have to think about it. There are so many shamans running
Oh my
around.
God.
Yeah, and yeah, a weekend course in shamanism, great. And well, he said that when the drug kicked in, um, the ayahuasca plant or entity, you could say, showed him a pair of feet and a little bit of the legs, but they were brown feet,
Mm.
not a white skin color. And then he was asked, what do you see? And he said, yeah, I see brown feet. And then he was told, so what is this telling you? And he was not, he didn't know what that was aiming at. And he had been told in that moment, these are not your feet, correct? And then he was told, so this plant is not for you. It is only for the people that live here.
Right. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's quite interesting. Yeah. There's this. I've heard down the years so many stories of people where they've listened to the advice of this plant or the entity, probably the entity that's masquerading as the plant, Mother Ayahuasca, they call it.
Mm.
Followed the advice, life turns upside down, everything goes to crap. I hear it so many times, whether it's with angels or friendly aliens, or when they've taken ayahuasca, or because the thing is, when you take these things, people think that they're when they go into the astral like that, they think that they're seeing everything. They're seeing the encompassing everything in this universe, when actually all they're doing is they're going into the astral. Like we as humans, we go way beyond that layer of the matrix. That's just one layer of this matrix, this computer game. We go way beyond it, beyond that. But when people are going into the astral and they're meeting entities and they're getting all these visuals, they're thinking that they've seen everything. And you can have certain like breakthroughs and insights. I'm not saying that it's totally bad, but we shouldn't, when people take these things, they shouldn't think that, oh, they've seen everything there is now and they've got all the answers. It's most of the stuff that goes on in the astral is manipulation and deception. So all this advice they get in and downloads that they get, I would say probably coming from entities.
Yeah. Do you know about Harald Kautzweller?
Yes.
Mm.
Well, I know his name. I don't know of him.
Yeah, I before we went online, I read something that he wrote about, and he wrote about children with autism in connection to parasites in the colon, and that these slime fungi are actually the same that the Tummo snake. Yeah, the Tummo snake is releasing in the body. So
Yeah.
I found that very interesting. And if you if you type it in, Tummo snake, then what is attached to it? A goddess.
Goddess. Oh, don't get me started on goddess energy.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Everyone's a everyone's a frigging goddess. Oh my God. Cringe fest. I need to make a video about that. Yeah, goddesses, Egyptian gods, these are all entity races masquerading. And have you noticed none of these people were ever like a bin man or I don't know, a road sweeper. They were always like a goddess in ancient Egypt in a previous life, or something exotic. They never say, "Oh, I swept the roads of London in the 1900s." It's always like, "Oh, I was in ancient Egypt. I was Osiris or something like this." But yeah, I remember one evening when I was living in Costa Rica, I actually saw the entity set in the room that I was in just for a split second. I just got the yeah, these things are just entities, and of course they market themselves and they package themselves so well. Um, that's what they do. They masquerade. I mean, when people really need to grasp the fact that these things are master masqueraders. I mean, it's incredible. I think I told the story on my recent live. I was clearing someone, and I'm really into like diving, and I love like whales and sharks and like anything in the ocean. I love it. I absolutely love it. It's my passion. And I was clearing someone, and all of a sudden I saw a shark, and for a split second, I was like, oh my God, it's a shark, right? And then I realized it was this entity cloaking itself as a shark, right? To try and hide from me. Or I would think like, oh, maybe it's like an animal spirit or something. And I was like, you bastard. I cleared it. But this is how sneaky and deceptive they are in the fact that, and it goes back to whatever your flavor is, like whatever you're into, they can market themselves as that. And for me, in that moment, this entity knew my weak spot was the ocean, right? So it's like, I'll try that as a last chance saloon. And for a really tiny split second, it almost got me. Um, and this is why it's so important to give up these rigid belief systems, because whatever you're into, they'll market themselves to that. So
Yeah. And that this goddess is a fierce one and a very fiery energy, which of course goes along with the Kundalini experience. And yeah, for some people, that experience was not so nice because they literally had the impression that they are burning,
Yeah.
although they didn't. And yeah, so
Some people never recover. Some people never recover from this Kundalini awakening.
mm,
It's really sad. In really extreme cases, same with ayahuasca. Sometimes it would just break people to the point of no return. But they don't tell you about these stories. I mean, ayahuasca retreats, people have died. People have literally died. Do you hear them talking about it in the ayahuasca community? Do you hear them talking about dangers of entity attachments, the dangers of if you've got a lot of trauma? Is there like an aftercare service for people when they open themselves up and spill all their trauma everywhere? No.
mm. Yeah, you are probably familiar with Graham Hancock.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he's quite fond of ayahuasca.
Well,
And
he's a shill, isn't he? I mean, he's on Netflix, and yeah, I mean,
yeah, and so his uh, his experience was quite positive with ayahuasca, but definitely don't do it as a party favor.
no.
Yeah, and I cannot stress that enough. You have to know who is brewing it, what are they brewing, and who are you with.
Yeah, but all these things, in my experience with people, become addictions. I mean, I've worked with and seen so many people down the years that they don't just take ayahuasca once. They end up taking it like 80, 100 times, like however many. All these things are what I call spiritual addictions, because what are they? They're ways to escape ourselves. And so it all comes down to inner work, really, because when you do that inner work, the desire to escape yourself with all of these things subsides, and you can just sit with yourself and be okay with it. But the problem is, people want to get out there and connect with this and connect with that because they're so like don't want to be in there. But and I get it, you know. It's where this is a tough experience. This human experience, being in this physical body, is tough. And you know, down the years, I've wanted to escape, but I found on my own journey, the more I've done that inner work, the less that I have any desire to, like alcohol, the lot. I don't need any of it, and I think that's really the key point in all of this. And you know, a lot of people just they don't want to do the inner work. They don't want to spend the time to really truly heal themselves. They want to go to the jungle, take a cup of jungle juice, and think that that's going to solve 20, 25 years of deep trauma. It doesn't work like that. Life doesn't work like that. Nature doesn't work like that. It's like these people that they want to eat junk food for 25 years, get obese and have like heart disease, and then they want to take a pill from big pharma and hope that's going to heal them. It just doesn't. There's no quick fix to these things.
Mm,
Um, so you know these things are set up within the new age because they know that people have a lot of trauma, and they know they're going to gravitate these things that are going to even like my god, the people I've met down the years that are addicted to meditation retreats, like every week they're going on a meditation retreat. Again, it's escapism for me.
mm. I just had an interview with a very, very lovely lady. She has overcome her eating disorder, bulimia.
Yeah.
And same thing, what you just described. And the funny thing was, she was contracted by Nike. She was one of their world athletes. And, you know, she was living in Hollywood. She was a aerobic instructor. And so from the outside, she had everything going for her. But at the same time, she was bulimic.
Mm.
And she was able to hide that for 16 years until one day it came all crashing down. And so what she did, she said, I was driving in my car and I had these masses of junk food and I was stuffing my face with it. And she said, I felt so ashamed. And then sometimes when people, yeah, probably who is in the next car, if you're in a traffic jam, do they know me or whatever? Yeah, and then of course you go home and she never could make herself throw up, so she had to drink something that made her throw up. And she did that to the point of where she was throwing up blood. And because of that, because there was never enough food in her system, her body, of course, went into this survival mode, where the body stores everything that it can get. And it stored a lot of the fat that she was shoveling in with the burgers and the French fries. And funny enough, during that time, she was 12 kg heavier than she is now.
Right.
Believe that?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, eating is another way to escape yourself because in the moment you're stuffing your face, you feel good. You're kind of not even in your body. I mean, sex, food, alcohol, drugs, like it's all there. Um, so yeah, when we all start to do our inner work, then we're not gonna feel the need to gravitate to all these things that just really just paper over the cracks. And of course, entities will turn the volume up on all of this as well. Your entities will, if your thing's alcohol or food, it'll be like, go on, just have a burger, just have another glass of wine. It'll be the little whisper in the ear because they're always trying to encourage you to stay off your path and encourage your bad habits and waste your time. So, the entities will hook into our unhealed wounds and amplify them, and make things worse. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Tony, we have probably ruffled some feathers today.
Yes, that's normal. Yeah. But I mean, like I say, I just, what do people want? Do they want to feel good, or do they want to get out of here? That's where we're at. That's where we're at right now. Do you want to feel good in the moment? Keep on with all these things, or do people really want to get out? And so that's what I would say to people. And just do your own research. You don't listen to me, and I don't have all the answers, but I think I've got a good handle on how this stuff works. And yeah, I
And
just
I
want
would assume, that you see a lot of the fallout from that in your line of work.
all the time emails every day of people where they've spent hundreds thousands of dollars, they're no better off, or their life has just collapsed, or they were channeling something, or they were downloading something, or they ended up in a cult, or they ended up in like getting abused by some like you just one day I'll write a book. I mean, it's crazy, and it's one of the reasons why I do what I do on my channel, because I hear it all the time, and yeah, I want people to become sovereign and become their own leaders, and not look outside themselves for all these things that are going to lead them astray. And there's nothing wrong with getting help, but it's getting the right help and being discerning about it, which is what we were saying off air. So I'm not against getting help from people. But the problem is, and the problem has been, is that we've just been going to whatever feels good in the moment, not showing enough discernment. And that's where people are getting unstuck. So question everything is what I would say to people, even things that are old and traditional, and even things that might make you feel good in the moment. So
I have a hard enough time to find a good doctor in this matrix,
is there a good doctor actually out
Yeah,
there?
Yes, some, yeah. But that is like, finding a needle in a haystack, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let alone talking about initiations and what have you. So
It's hard to find a good person, let alone a doctor. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is, and they've packaged it all incredibly well. I always say, like, you have to tip your hat at the way they've done it all. I mean, they are the kings at deception and masquerading and hoodwinking people and tricking people. That's why it's a matrix.
yeah.
Uh, so it's being aware of their tricks and manipulations. If you can become more aware in this physical lifetime, you're going to be less likely to be hoodwinked and manipulated at death. And it's so incredibly vital that we do this in this lifetime, because we know that they use a memory wipe at the end of our lives if we get hooked into the light tunnel and everything. And you don't want to learn everything but still be hooked into angels or Jesus or something, and then that gets used against you, your memory's wiped, and then you're back down here for another thousands of years. Because that's really where we're at. This is the importance of it. This is a real opportunity, a window of opportunity for people to finally get out of here once and for all. And if you go through that memory wipe system, it could take you another 1,000 lifetimes to learn what you've learned up to now. So just be very careful. If you have a rigid belief system about anything, connections to loved ones, things like connections to pets, I'm not saying don't enjoy them in this physical life, but just leave that at the door. When it's time, just leave it all at the door, and just, yeah, exit. Head for the exit door.
Yeah, that is a very important, I would say exercise in general, letting go of stuff
Yeah.
or whatever it might be. And that is not very easy for most people.
No, we get so attached to everything in this matrix, and it's good to have these these physical lifetime attachments. I'm not saying that we shouldn't get close to people, or we shouldn't get close to our fathers, our mothers, our grandfathers, our pets, our children, whatever. But just know that when it comes to time to leave, this AI system has got your algorithm down to a T, and be like, all right, Judith, cats. That's how we're going to get Judith. Her cats are going to show up, right? And if you're there at you're still attached to them in this lifetime, and you pass, and you're like, oh, where am I going? There's my cat. Oh, and then all of a sudden, you're back down. Your memory's been wiped because your cat's hooked you back in. That was an entity masquerading itself. It sounds so evil, and it really is. It sounds like it's not a very nice message to put across to people, and it's very, very sad. But what do people want to do? For me, I want to get out of here. As much as I love my mum, my dad, my family, my niece, my nephew, what have you, I will leave that all at the door when that time comes. And who knows, maybe outside of this matrix, we can meet up later on down the line. I mean, anything's possible. I really do think anything is possible. Infinite possibilities once we get out of this matrix. So maybe we can create a world where we can all meet up together and all have a good laugh at what happened down in Clown World.
Yeah, great. So perfect final words. And so that was it. Night Flight for today with Tony Sayers, and we see you all next time. Bye-bye.